It's for real. I'm ready.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Let's Get Ready podcast. In this edition of the Schmoedown Crackdown, where we get the Schmoedown and crack it. And yes, I'm going to address it right off the bat. No, Fares is not here. No, Justin's not here. As we all know, Fares has to deal with the Irish Bay Area mob. This has been an issue throughout this whole year. And this time, when he got kidnapped again, Justin had to flew from Alabama to help Fares. And I just got the message from Justin, and he said that the mob is asking for 3 rabbits and 4 turtles to get Fares back to us. So please,
Seems
if you
doable.
guys can, tweet right now at Justin Hamilton at Hanbone77 US saying, I have a rabbit or a turtle and I want to get Fares back. But I'm not alone because I have what I call the rookies of LGR, even though they have been here for it feels like 30 decades. So, Dagan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to doing this show, taking over for Justin today. I guess we're all sort of filling in for Justin, but man, this is going to be a fun show. Talking with the Barbarian about his big match that he just had that aired earlier today, and of course that crazy pay-per-view, which I don't think any of us had it going that way, such a decisive outcome. But yeah, man, looking forward to spending the next hour and a half or so with you guys.
Yeah, and for last but definitely not least, I have the guy with the longest nickname in this community, a random Schmoedown fan, Mr. Josh. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great. I mean, any Schmoedown fan after this week's worth of matches has to be feeling good because we're right now in playoff season. Basically, you can feel the energy, and you feel like these matches not only matter for this year, not only matter for the faction race, but for the long-term future of some of these competitors. And really, it's going to affect not only this season, but the next season. And I'm really excited to talk about it and really see which competitors are starting to make a name for themselves and which competitors we kind of have to start kind of worrying about, not only for this season, but next season.
Yes, there is a lot for us to talk about and discuss, but as Dagan Red said, as it is in the title of this video, as in the thumbnail that Alex made, look guys, here's the thing. Before even of you existed, before even of you two were born, in the prime times of the internet, there was a channel named the Finstock Exchange Podcast that me and Justin even go way back from that. I started that channel with other crazy people, and it became now what we call the Gucciverse, and I don't have any idea what they're doing with that now. But the first time that I ever hosted a show that I allowed the American people to hear my beautiful English with that beautiful accent, it was in the episode where my first interview ever, my first appearance as a host was with this guy. I go way back with him. I have mad respect for him. I don't care about people's opinion on him. I don't care about people's opinion on the Finstock Exchange, but because this guy is one of the best people I have ever the pleasure to know. So welcoming back to LGR after a very long time, actually.
And the longest intro of any Schmoedown competitor of all time award.
No, Justin makes.
Justin will break it next week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It is the Barbarian.
What's up, gentlemen?
What is happening?
So normally this is where I would thank you for having me on your show, but I have to say I am not thankful. I'm actually quite insulted because there wasn't just one Finstock Exchange match this week that upset everybody's expectations. There were 2, and you only invited the winner of one of those 2 matches. So I took the I took the chance to invite the other.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look who it
Look
is.
at this.
Oh,
You don't want
no.
King Arthur on your
The
show?
king.
One half of the tag team tournament finalists right here.
We had the King Kong like 2 weeks ago. So.
Yeah, when I lost.
Yeah, that's right. I had you on my birthday, King. Come on.
That's true. No, but yeah, you don't invite on the guy who beat 2 champions? All right.
Well, future champions, perhaps, because that's one of. Let's get right off the bat.
All right.
And here's go to Craig, but I also want King Khan to fill in because look, comparing to last year, it was a very crazy Finstock exchange faction.
Mhm.
I was there. I saw a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And this year, you guys, especially you, Craig, because you're scouting with the dossier, you're searching for all this talent. You are one of the best people responsible to putting this team. So what is the feeling of belonging to the exchange now compared to how it was last year?
Well, but first, I do want to say I had a very good time with the exchange last year. I felt like I had a personal connection with everyone on the team. I felt very close to them all. I wish them all nothing but the best. The one difference, though, with this year's, I feel like last year's team was a bit more fractured in terms of our approach to the game. And this year, it was 100% just a team effort the entire year from day one. And it's, and a lot of that is, it's true that I did the scouting for the dossier, but I was given very specific instructions by our team captain, John Roca, and, of course, the great Bobby Finstock, Bobby Gucci. And they described the type of players that they want, and they described that we needed to work together. We needed to find people that were going to work together to do this magical thing that we've been doing. And that's exactly who we scouted. That's exactly who we drafted. And, everyone from top to bottom has been pulling their share of the weight and with passion and dedication. And, and it's paying off just like we thought it would.
Nice,
And Khan, how it is to be part of this family now, almost a year now, and being on the tournament and having this huge win this week, like how it's feeling, my man.
It's the result of all the hard work we've put in. We throw questions at each other all the time. Even the people who are more busy, who don't have as much time, still make time to contribute. And you're just seeing the fruits of our labor. So I couldn't be more proud as well of this exchange team.
Khan couldn't tell you how many times I've called and said, all right, Khan, let's run through more things. Let's run through more. This man right here is my one of my primary study partners on the exchange, and I think that you'll see the effect of our combined study efforts pay off, exponentially as our careers move forward.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you've been saying it pretty much all season that, like, the prophecy, the Finstock prophecy, if you would, is you guys standing on the stage at Spectacular with the faction title, with all the belts. No IG belt in there, but Star Wars singles and teams would be pretty nice. And you guys are in a pretty good position with King Arthur in the teams finals. You get, you Barbarian and Griffey Newman, who's just looking like an unstoppable force this season, and Gold Leader in the finals of the Star Wars tournament. So, I mean, it's looking pretty good. I mean, you guys said you were going to do something. You called your shot, so to say, like an old baseball guy would. But, it seems like you guys are headed towards that path.
I'm glad that you're seeing what we're seeing. I'm glad that, it's a great place to be. Now, 3 out of 4 belts ain't bad, but, we went into the people thought when we drafted that we had a silly approach, but they don't understand how much effort we put in trying to find the types of people that we thought could win the titles. We thought with Gold Leader, I met Gold Leader on your show, actually. Hambone introduced me to him during one of his interviews.
Yeah,
it was great.
Exactly.
And But at any rate, we drafted these people with the thought of these people could be the current top contenders without any preparation, and we're going to prepare them even better than they already are. The dossier on Griffin Newman literally just says this man could beat Dan Murrell today. That's what we thought when we got to know him, his approach to movie trivia and his approach to his dedication to the craft.
Absolutely. And I will say the Exchange has done a great job to getting to some of those important matches. But once you've gotten there so far, you haven't been able to really close it down. Like Gold Leader has already gotten a number one contenders match in a tournament final and lost. Rushmore lost the tournament final to Danger Zone. What's the difference in this tournament and these tournaments where the Exchange will finally close the deal in those really number one contender and really important matches?
I mean, one thing I'll say is, even top level players, can lose, but a really good top level player should win more often than they lose. So over time, we didn't win that top match at the end of the last team's tournament. Well, you know what? Maybe that means we're due. I feel like this is the opposite of actual stats, but basically we're due. And I know it's like, look, you can't run into bad luck all season. It's not that everything was bad luck, so to say, but you talk about Gold Leader losing in the tournament finals last tournament. He missed one letter in that match. He was one letter from being perfect, and he's not going to face Thomas Harper again in this tournament. Thomas Harper's sitting there at the end of the road spectacular. We talk about teams tournaments. JTE and Roca, team of Rushmore. I mean, look at the team, the press room, whose only loss thus far is getting TKO'd by Rushmore. They haven't lost a match since. Look at how close their match with Final Exam was afterwards. This is a team that could and should win. So it's just a matter of these things average out over time. Yeah, the ball didn't bounce our way the first couple times, but that just means that odds are it's gonna bounce our way sooner or later.
Look, and even though I'm not like a numbers guy, I don't really care about the numbers. There is some, I think there are symbols to some stuff, and like I'm looking into right now, like as of today, like the Think Stock Exchange faction has 29 wins and 14 losses. The highest, exactly.
Yeah.
The
Best
highest
record in the lead.
The best record, the highest
Best
of
record
them
in the
all.
league.
Would have to take like Corruption Dungeon to have even more 7 wins to tie you guys, or you guys would have to lose it at least 2 more times to be tied with the least losses with the dungeon. So it's kind of crazy that even though Josh brings a great point that those title matches, you guys didn't got there yet. Everything else, all the rest, you guys have been winning and going against like this narrative. Oh my God, this faction is crazy. Who are these guys? Like every single time you proved them wrong. I was here in the beginning of the year and nobody like understood the dossier, the choices. And now I think, especially if those 2 wins right now, and of course other wins that you guys had, I think people are finally accepting. And I want to use the teams match as an example. Deception looked like, in theory, a crazy team to have. You had Adam, that is a former champ. Everybody thought he was going to dominate this year, and now you have the current champ, Marisol. And you guys knocked them out of the tournament, and perhaps, and this is a discussion that I want to have, maybe after that loss to King Arthur, Deception is no more, because they have a losing record. They live at the east part of America, and even though in theory they are great players, their team didn't correspond to the expectations of that. Do you guys think that not only for Deception, but using Deception as an example, it's kind of the end of the idea of super teams? That maybe when you get a Griffin Nooms and a King Khan, is that what you need to create that great team? You don't necessarily need like the best singles players of all time.
Well, we do. First off, we do have the best singles player of all time in that team alongside Khan. And I want you to talk to someone who knows. You know what? You want to talk about teams? Talk to this guy about teams.
Exactly.
Oh my
What's
god!
going on here, motherfuckers? I'm coming to like Andrew Dice Clay, throwing that parental advisory. You guys like this little dossier we got going on? You like all these wins, all these TKOs?
It's
look
working
nice,
out
Mr.
pretty
G.
good. Working out pretty good so far this year, JT.
Do you know where we are right now? We're at Guillermo del Toro's house on his balcony. We're all about to go watch Shape of Water. Just because it won Best Picture, so we asked Del Toro what he wanted to watch, and that's what he went with. We're not going to argue with him.
Shout out to
I
Mr.
wanted
Del
Blade
Toro.
too. He didn't want to watch it.
How much did Gucci have to pay off Del Toro to get that house for the night?
I mean, Del Toro and Gucci are great friends. We have like an open invitation. We have most of our meetings at this house by the pool, which is shaped like a giant knife and has red water. It's really kind of creepy. But Del Toro's, he's a weird guy.
Sounds legit.
We got to go. These guys got to go soon, but I got to head out. We're dominating. I hope you guys, when we win this whole thing at the end, you give us our respect, our roses, all that stuff.
Always good to see
Absolutely.
you, Mr. GT. I didn't expect that too. You have a lot of surprises. That's very true.
It's trick or treat time, motherfuckers. So
We don't have
Good
Halloween.
stuff. Good stuff.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So does that answer the question about teams? No, super teams. No. I didn't mean that Khan and Griffin are a super team. It's just nobody realized it at the beginning of the season. But no, the thing with super teams is that the level of competition across the board has gotten so high that it's easy to pair two players together that could be considered a super team. And it's not just about having the two best players. You need players that are going to complement each other's knowledge. I think that Marisol and Adam are probably going to stay together as a team after this. I think that they've got, they've accomplished enough individually, and they've been very close in their team's losses. But as long as they're on the same faction next year, I believe they'll be a team.
Very nice. We do have a Streamlab that just came in from our friend Star. She says, as always, sending an abundance of love and support to all of you. I hope that includes
you,
the Fin
Star.
Stock Exchange in there as well. I'm sure it does. So going back to your match that aired earlier today, Barbarian, you took out a pretty tough opponent there in Mr. Paul Oyama. And it seems like you've had a bit of a resurgence here in singles this season, if you can kind of call it that. I feel like IG was kind of a bit of your focus at one point, and now it's sort of shifted back to singles. So what's it been like sort of in this tournament? I mean, we've talked about your quadrant being almost like kind of a death row with like an Adam Collins, Brendan the Kid Meyer, Paul Oyama. You guys are like considered maybe the top, in the top 5, at least the top 10 ranked players right now. So what do you look on in terms of this success here, beating Paul Oyama and then taking that and facing Brendan the Kid Meyer next, because that's another really tough opponent.
I mean, look. I'll say this. I'll respond to this to a few things that I mentioned in my match, in my promos. People talk about resurgence. But if you look at my single season last year, first match, don't miss a question, win a TKO. Second match, first round of the tourney, I take Whitney Seibold out. I missed 2 questions that match, including one. I missed one in the first round, and then I missed a steal off him. Other than that, didn't miss a question. So that's the first 2 matches last year. The third match, I missed 1 question. Bibbs has to have the first ever perfect game in order to beat me. So in terms of bouncing back from that, I mean, that's not like I wasn't bouncing back from anywhere. In my first match this year, I had a perfect game going into my 5. And then, that happens. Sometimes you get a 5 that's not here with us. But again, that's another match. Both of my matches that I lost, 1 question is what I missed. So it's it's not a bounce back. This is the level I've always been at, and I think that the reason why people don't see that is that people just pay too much attention to the W and the L sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2-1, then it was 2-2, but I played 4 matches and missed like 5. I missed 5 questions in 4 matches at that point. It's not like we were talking about stats before. It's not like I was losing because I wasn't doing well. It's I was playing a little that you would win more often than you would lose at. It just took a little bit to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify.
Jeez, numbers. Thank you. Break it up a little bit. What did you say?
Yeah, no, you guys crackled in and out a little bit there as well, but you're breaking out. Sounds like they're being hacked by the Gucci.
CIA.
Gucci is being you guys are getting tapped here.
Well, I'm having trouble with the connection.
I think they froze.
Okay, I think he might have to.
Okay.
Okay.
They will do little technical
happens.
stuff that always happens, guys.
Yeah, they're having a little bit of difficulty connecting and reconnecting here, but I was just going to sort of clarify that what I meant by resurgence, not so much like a comeback in terms of somebody that played poorly and then comes back and plays a lot better. I was saying more of a resurgence in terms of like not being as active, maybe not getting as many matches, not playing as many matches.
There we go.
So they're still having
Can you
some
hear
audio
us,
issues,
Craig?
but
I'm starting to browse with this connection, guys. I can't really.
Yeah, because sometimes I hear an echo. I don't know if you guys are hearing an echo too.
yeah, we're getting a little bit of an echo on your end as well.
Yeah, this is going
Sounds like they're at Area 51.
I mean, it is
Okay.
Halloween season. It is the spooky
Yeah.
season.
I really think that the NSA, like all these agencies of the American government that you guys have, are like they are searching for Gucci, Yeah. Now they are tracking Barbarian's phone, like to find him. Let's see if we can have a little bit. Wow, allegedly Fares is here. Craig should have paid for the premium closet internet.
Closet.
They weren't supposed to be kidnapped by the mob or something.
No, Haskell makes a good point here. Hashtag blame Ferris. Yeah, this is all on you, Ferris.
Absolutely. You leave for one show and look what happens.
But look, before
Yeah.
Craig comes back, like, I'll throw this question for you guys too. Like, do you think that this is the end of Deception?
I'll start. I think it depends because it depends how hard Christian pushes for it. Because I think you can definitely make the argument, but if Adam and Marisol still want to stay together, I think you can give them one last run. But there's only for so long you can kind of just keep doing it. Now it's like win or die if you do keep them on the same team. I think Deception is a very interesting team. I think they're entertaining. I think they're talented. I don't think because of that, I don't think they're at the point where they need the breakup. But I do think it's getting there where it's like another tough loss.
I was under the impression that this was like their last attempt.
It could be. I kind of want to.
It
I
might.
don't know about you, Danny. I kind of want to see Deception live. I want to see them play live, like right next to each other. Like that might be my last, but I would totally get if this is their last shot. I just think if they both want to give it one more try, I would give it to them. But if they don't get it, then they might have to break up mid-season, and that might not be a great place to be.
Yeah.
And now we have him back.
All right, here's the problem, guys. It's very loud where I am, and I need to be plugged in. So give me a second
Gotcha.
here.
Oh my gosh. Look at all of
It's
this.
a party!
Barbarian brings the party
Look,
here.
the exchange had a great week. We're having an exchange party. What can you say?
You guys have earned it, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Guillermo del Toro's house for hosting the Gucci party.
Yeah, my phone is my phone's a little low on the battery, so I think that's why I was having problems.
Gotcha.
and it's very loud where I have access to. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do one more thing. Let me try one thing. I'm gonna try one thing real quick, so I can say something more for you guys. Give me a second.
All right.
No problem.
All right. So Dagan, well, what do you think about deception and breaking up?
Yeah, no, real quick, I will say it seemed like they indicated they wanted to stay together. So I'm really hoping that Christian kind of keeps that in mind when determining what the teams are going to be and everything next season. So I would say I really hope that they stay together. There's a chance that they might get broken up, but I'm not sure. I think it depends on if Marisol retains the title of Spectacular, like if they put them with a manager. If Marisol loses the title, I think
now Barbarian
I do not think they stay with. And I would say that if Marisol retains the Spectacular, I don't think, and he's gone.
And he was good. I was like not seeing him pixelated, and he lives. That's Craig, guys.
He was saying his phone was low on battery, so that might have been the end of the battery right there. But
I imagine if it was that. Anyway, continue, Dagan.
Yeah, no, of course. This is what we have.
It's
here.
not going to be a good Finstock Exchange episode if Craig was having like no internet connections. Where are you now?
What's going on?
I went to Maryland. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm just hanging out. Thought this is the quietest place here, so.
Wow, Del Toro's house is very big, by the way.
Very big. It's very big. Yeah. So, the question that you asked, I have answered. Next question.
Yes.
Sure. I actually want to use Dagan's questions as a basis for another one that. By not participating in Inner Geekdom, because of course you had the Moose Haas, like doing a lot of the IG stuff. Like, did that help you focus a little bit more on singles? And another question is because I have been waiting for almost 2 years now, Mr. Barbarian, to see you at teams. Why did this not happen this year still?
Well, first off, me and Elvis are always a team, so you've seen me play teams every match. But
okay,
look, we had on our faction 6 players. We divided the entire faction into what teams would be. But when it came to the tournaments, we had 6 players paired up into 3 teams that could, play in a tournament. And we only had 2 tournaments. So, we had to look at the options. And, Rushmore clearly was deserving of the first shot. And,
yes,
I think that as the season progressed, that both Griffin Newman and King Khan proved that they, deserved their shot. And I think thus far in the tournament, I think they've proved correctly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Sure. And but I do want to ask because, it's clear that you're the trainer. You put so much time into the exchange and helping your faction. Is it sometimes tough to be a team player and just give up that slot for the team's tournament? Do you because some people may think because they put more time into it, because they constantly train other competitors, that they may deserve the shot because of how much of a team player they are, and you're also a triple threat. So. Walk us through walk us through why it was so easy to give Griffin Newman and King Khan that shot.
I mean, it's the part of our mantra that we've had for this season was to have no egos, and I would be. I would be hypocritical if I pulled up an ego about needing to be in the team's tournament when the decision by the team was to have this other pairing go. So it was easy for me to swallow my pride because that's what we've asked everyone to do: is swallow our pride. And just because, just because there were only 8 teams in the second tournament doesn't mean that I won't get a chance to play in teams next year.
Of course.
And then, in terms of your question about the Inner Geekdom, I will say as you may imagine, Inner Geekdom takes a lot of studying time. Yes. And last year, I spent more of my studying time doing Inner Geekdom and singles. I think it's my turn to do something, so I'm going to wrap this up in a second, guys. Okay. But essentially, what I'm saying is that this year, after my loss to Damon and after how well Moose performed, we decided as a team that Moose would be our entrant in the tournament and that I would focus on singles. And doing that has allowed me to, utilize all that time and energy that I would have otherwise been using to study Inner Geekdom to study singles films the way that someone would study Inner Geekdom.
Gotcha. Well, hey, Barbarian, thanks so much for joining us here on the show today, and best of luck for you. Any quick final words for your next opponent here in this tournament? And Brendan,
for
the
Mr.
Kid Meyer.
Kid. Yeah.
Brendan, I know you're hearing this, and I know you're scared. Well, I've got news for you, Brendan. You should be.
Nice. I love it.
Craig, it was a pleasure seeing you again. Enjoy the party with Miss Del Toro.
Thank you.
Give kisses and hugs to people.
Pleasure seeing you all as well. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
See you next time. That was fun.
It was.
Yes.
that reminded me like how the Think Stock Exchange interviews were like a lot of technical problems.
Usually, yeah.
There are way more booze, by the way. Like I remember, like everybody like chugging like whole bottles and everything. Now we are all old and tired. Damn, that's depressing. Anyway,
way to bring the mood down, Danny. Jeez.
Talking about depressing stuff. So Alex Damon this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nikki, this was one of those wins where now it's like, oh, Nikki DeMolanta, like she can win this whole thing. And not only can she win this whole thing, like even with all the hype around Gold Leader and how we were seeing the exchange's praises, I really think this is going to be a tough match, and I think it's going to be neck and neck. But on the point of Alex Damon, I don't know. It's like this is such a crushing loss because not only does this affect Alex Damon, the Star Wars player, it affects Alex Damon, the Inner Geekdom player. Because after this loss, can he really focus on IG at all? Does he have to devote solely on Star Wars next year? Because Damon was actually really good in IG, and there's probably going to be more opportunities for IG next year than there will be for Star Wars. So it's such a crushing loss, and like Damon will be back. My guess is he'll be a win or two away from a number one contenders match, which he can easily get given his talent. But it is a really tough loss because now I think he's got to refocus and now focus solely on Star Wars, which is going to be tough for him as an IG player.
Look, I'll pull up this comment from
this what a crazy stat. No, I don't think anybody would have predicted this going into the season.
Just for the audio listeners, before Adelia like warns me, Alex is 1-3 in Star Wars this year. That is Liu's comment here, and that's crazy because here's how I see it. I'm not surprised by Nikki. I'm not. I'm not going to even go into this argument. Oh my God, she Andrew DiMolanto's wife. Like for me, I don't care about that. She always seemed a very hardcore Schmoedown fan. Regardless, she has been part of the Schmoedown community and family for years now, and she obviously loves Star Wars too because you can see it looking to their apartment. So I was not surprised by her knowledge or skills. No. I was kind of surprised of her winning against Alex. Yes, but because not that was, of course, extremely possible because of her knowledge and skills, but I think that in order for somebody to win, the other person has to lose and make mistakes. Is in the very minority of Schmoedown matches that a player that is almost perfect or very good or extremely good loses. Like, it happens sometimes, but it's kind of more like rare. And so for me, what comes down to it is not talking about just about Nikki's like great performance and her possibly being the winner of this tournament and maybe even having the chance of getting the title, because I think that's a conversation that we can have, especially after that finals. But I think it's time for us to talk about Damon. And the truth is, I think all of us at some point, as Schmoedown fans, random or not, thought that Alex should lose the belt. He should lose the belt at some point to turn that division of the Schmoedown more interesting. Yes, it's very cool and awesome. There is a person that is dominating a whole division, but I do believe that belts exchanging hands, or in this case, shoulders or waists, even though nobody uses the belt as in the waist. Anyway, I do think that type of exchange makes the league more diverse, make the league more interesting to watch, creates more space, more people, more storylines, more characters, and everything like that. So I'm not mad that we had Andrew dominating until Thomas Harper got, and now you shall see what's happened to the end of the season. However, and that's what I want to know from you guys, I at least expected that after Alex lost the belt, he would have some kind of getting back. Maybe getting to a tournament final, maybe even having another title match. But it seems to me, as a viewer, as a fan of the Schmoedown, as a fan of Alex, that losing that belt not only faltered him, but changed him in a very weird way. Because Alex, throughout years and years of Schmoedown, has never made mistakes or had confidence issues that sometimes you can feel it, as he's having now, as he's had in his match against Di Malanta for the second time, and this match against Nikki. So my question, to summarize all this, what the hell happened to Alex Damon?
It's a great question you bring up there, Danny. And, normally I would say a player just has a rough season, right? I mean, I think we're seeing that with Adam Collins. We're seeing that with Liz Shannon Miller, some of these other players. And normally what would happen is they have a rough season and they come back and bounce back. And I expect nothing less from both Liz and Adam. I believe that they have potential to really turn things around next season. But with Alex Damon, I think you make up a really good point that for so long we saw him as this just uber dominant player, somebody who did not ever really miss a question. And that trend continued all the way into that first title match that he had with Di Malanta. But as soon as first moment that he had a bit of a confidence issue, where he knew that answer in that sudden death, 12 rounds in the sudden death or whatever it was, he knew the answer, he just couldn't quite get it at that point. And it's the first time I think we really saw any sort of, as you were saying, sort of confidence thing. And since then, he has looked like a completely different Alex Damon. He's made many, many, many mistakes in his games since then. After going perfect for so long, even that match, right? 50 out of 51 points. So it is really interesting that it almost seems like he is kind of on a downward spiral that you don't normally see with a player of his caliber, And I just hope that next season he's able to really bounce back. And I don't know how he finds that confidence again, whether it's Christian putting him with a different manager, because I think Roxy has brought a lot to the table. But I remember when she first drafted Damon, this was like a couple seasons ago, right, when we had that first draft. I remember her talking, whether or not it was on Schmoedown or SEN Live or whatever it was, that she wasn't sure, because the way the draft picked order lined up, Alex Damon would have fit in, and she did eventually end up going with Alex Damon. But I remember her saying, like, I don't know what I can do to help Alex Damon anymore because of how dominant of a player he is. And so, this is no slight on Roxy or anything, but it does seem like, and with the season that the Stars have had, that maybe Christian looks elsewhere for Alex Damon next season. I think, we'll see how the factions are all kind of shifted around and everything, but somebody like an Adam Witt, I think would be really, really good for Alex Damon. If he ends up having a faction of his own, like I've been kind of speculating he would. So, and that's like a, Star Wars power driving force of that, whatever that, the fan favorites, I'm just kind of calling them for now, if that is a thing. So that's a sort of a long-winded answer on my part, but I'm curious to see what Josh has to say. And then we have somebody that's finally decided. All right.
Let Josh speak.
Josh,
first.
go, and then you can handle this situation.
Okay, I think this isn't a confidence problem with Damon. I don't think losing the belt is what ruined Alex Damon this season. I think 5150 ruined Alex Damon, and I'm going to explain my reasoning why. Because I think 5150 woke the writers up in a way. Because I think what changed wasn't Alex Damon's confidence. What changed wasn't the competitors he was facing. What changed was the questions. The questions started to have started to become much tougher, and even Alex wanted tougher questions. And be careful what you wish for, because we got them. I think the question writers are just knocking it out of the ballpark with these questions. And what I think the problem is we see these new competitors like Thomas Harper, Gold Leader, even Andrew DeMolanta and Nikki DeMolanta do a great job of doing this. They prepare for the questions. They know, if you watch enough Star Wars matches, you can see what type of questions they ask. The fact that Alex was so completely unprepared for those actors' questions is kind of like a lack of preparation. It's a lack of strategy. A lack of training, exactly. Like, as someone who's been in the league for so long and got used to a certain type of question, once they changed the questions and once they started asking these new types of questions, I think he wasn't prepared for that. And that's why we're seeing this lack of confidence in a way, because he's having such a tough time with the adjustment that the question writers made. I think he's going to make that adjustment over the offseason and really fix his gaps, because there are some gaps in that sense. But it's really amazing how human he has looked throughout these three matches. And I really do, in my opinion, I credit that to how awesome of a job the question writers have done. Because after that 51-50 match, the fact that it went perfect for so long and then into sudden death for so long, the question writers know they can't have that every single time. They know they can't have those perfect games every single time. They need to put more curveballs, more fastballs, more just different types of questions. And I think they've done that and done such an incredible job with that. And because of that, I think that's really what happened to Alex Damon, is the questions got tougher, and they got tougher in a way he wasn't expecting.
Look, I wouldn't put that much like power to the 5150, because I do think the questions getting harder or tighter or like more creative. It is a natural progression of the craft of the question writers. Like, it's not something that technically began after that match. I think all the divisions are getting maybe not that much. We don't feel that much with singles and teams, because it's like the pool of questions is very, very big and large. But IG and Star Wars definitely got, like, we clearly see IG revamped this year, and now we are seeing like a Star Wars revamp this year as well. Even though it might seem now that change began a little bit more later into the season. I do think it's actually like a natural progression of stuff. Yes,
Yeah,
you're
and-
right. I mean, Josh is right. Like the
Yeah.
questions are like I have no idea who played Kid Fisto. I didn't even know that they changed actors between Techno
didn't
Clones
either.
and Revenge of the Sith. Like, and I'm glad that not even Alex knew about that, because Jesus, that's crazy, you know. However, and I have been seeing here in the chat, and I think Dagan, you brought up this as well. Let's not like put a blame on someone, not even Alex or Roxy, but I think even though it's very difficult for us to actually do any kind of prediction, because we have no idea what's going to happen next year. We heard humors and stuff like that. Christian sometimes gives a little pieces of info, but
Yeah.
but nothing is like confirmed or officially announced. Like, here's the fact. They then just waiting for the Harper defense. They are done this season. Swag, as far as we know, after what Barbarian did to Oyama, is done, because we don't know what's going to happen with that Chandru taking Oyama's shot. That was weird. They tried to address that with Oyama and Winston in the post match, and
They just dodged the question.
So, yeah. And the stars, like Leo Log, I'm going to pull his comment again here. Like, now only has Janine left.
That's it. Yep.
It's a Janine against Kalinowski match. That's a very interesting match, because they get a rivalry, they go way back. So, but the truth is, these three teams that I just told you guys, they're done. They're basically done. Like, the Swag and Stars have been mathematically like out of the faction race for months now. For months. They don't need even try anymore, because there's no chance. And even now the suspects are now like setting in that position as well, because now that they lose the title match, they only have like Paige
and Nikki.
Yeah, but it's still very few options, like compared to the other factions.
Basically, the suspects need both of them to be as spectacular.
Exactly.
Otherwise, if one of them loses, they're probably out.
The suspects, I think, are pretty close to being mathematically eliminated. They really needed this title win tonight, which we'll talk about as well. But yeah, it's not. It's looking like it's pretty much a 4-team race at this point between Corruption Dungeon, Quirky Mercs, and the Exchange. So
yes, and that brings to the bottom line is maybe it's time for Alex and Roxy to part ways. Not because Roxy is not a capable manager, not because they don't have a chemistry, but after he lost the belt, Alex Damon had 3 matches. He had the chance to ring in ultimate, like he had the auto like shot at the
automatic rematch
Yeah.
clause because he defended enough times.
Yeah. Then the Molly match, and now this one with Nikki. Even though yes, he won against Molly, I don't see an improvement. I don't see improvement after that second Di Malanta match. It seems like he's trapped in a hole and he can't get out of the hole. And now that the division is evolving, is getting like it got more stars. We perhaps are going to get even more players next year. Who knows? Like, he needs to get out of this hole. If this relationship is not helping him get out of this position, he needs to change the context of the relationship. In this case, get out of the stars. Not because Rox is not a good manager. She helped him in a lot of other cases. But now I do think that a fresh air for a lot of these competitors, not only Alex, but using Alex as an example, they need a refresh start for the next season. Like, I'm not afraid of seeing a lot of players that we are so used to them being with a specific manager have been managed by other players. Maybe that's what they need. Like, Bibiani was a great player. I think Bibiani reached the point that he became like this team's dreadnought after he got with Koi. Same things for Brandon Meyer. They were good players before, but it was that relationship that filled in what they needed to do.
Yep.
Of course, like I'm not going to preach, hey, Mike Evalд Shannon. Like that makes no sense for me. But like for Alex in this point, yeah, I think you cracked the puzzle. I think Adam Witt should be a manager and manage Alex Damon.
That player-player relationship what you were just talking about.
Can I quickly make a counterpoint?
Yeah.
So I get why we're saying this, and I do agree with the no improvement isn't great. However, I think I don't know if the grass is greener on the other side. I think Roxy. I think the Stars right now are in a weird position because their two star players, Snyder and Draco, are both retired, and they've kind of
in the middle of the season. Yes.
Middle of the season. And so they're kind of, and they've kind of had a lot of bad luck, a lot of tough losses. Kind of like, I think the Stars are the one place where Alex Damon can be the star of the faction, the number one player, the kind of big name of the faction.
But he has been throughout this whole year, basically.
Yes, I'm getting to that. And I also think. I think Roxy is a good enough manager to adjust, but I don't think there's a lot of other options. I get why you're saying Adam Witt, but if for Adam Witt to manage Alex Damon, that means he has to retire from Star Wars because there's only one Star Wars player in each faction. One Star Wars.
You don't think he will?
I don't know if he wants to. I mean,
I think it seems like that's been the indication recently that he's headed
a player can have so
role.
many losses before he gives up. That's my point. Like,
okay.
Besides John Roca, who had a lot of many losses, and that's one of the things I would say good about Roca. A lot of them give up. Oh, okay, maybe like people doesn't give like Riley that much props. That's another discussion for another time.
I mean, I wonder if Adam Witt is like someone like the Real Rejects, who, because of his personality, because of how fun he is, that he'll always get matches. And I think it'll be up to him. And he has made no indication, at least for me, that he doesn't still enjoy playing the game. So, I mean...
Are we watching the same matches, Josh?
What
I am the only one that don't see a dungeon split up storyline happening in those.
No. I do agree. I do think they are setting up a dungeon split up storyline, but that doesn't mean Adam would, because I think it's possible that you can have a player manager next season. I think it's possible because when Christian was talking about it, one of his examples he used was Mark and Draco, if you remember correctly, and I don't think he wanted Indraco unless he was saying Indraco would just manage and not play, which I think would be. I don't know why Indraco would be the first name that you would come up in that sense. You always associate him as a player, but maybe. But I don't know. And even then, Adam Witt, I love him. He doesn't have the greatest record as a manager either. Like I just don't think the grass is greener on the other side. I think Roxy is the Stars are a good place for him to grow, and I think we can give it another year to really like fix the flaws of this year and kind of get better. I don't know.
I think you're being. I agree with you. Like, I'm not like, hey, it's not working. Split everything up. Burn it to the ground. I'm not like that. But being more pragmatical with Drake out of the picture and Snyder out of the picture by the middle of the year, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Alex has been the star of the stars. He has been the most like notorious player. Like, I'm not discounting Janine or the other players in the star. There are a lot of great players in the stars, but like that one that defines, like we always talking about this. There are players inside faction that defines the faction. I think the Barbarian is one for the exchange, by the way. I think Griffin Humes especially is become like one of this, like you see that player, you identify it with the faction. And I think Alex has been the one for the stars. And pragmatically speaking, this has been the year of losses of Alex. He's lost the belt. He didn't have the chance to get it back. Then he had one win, and then he lost again. And that's it. That's the end. You're not going to see Alex Damon until, who knows, next year. And then you say, oh, give it another chance. Another whole year. And there's a chance of you letting go another year of Alex not being able even to have a match for the belt. For a player, like if I was in Alex's position, I wouldn't give him a chance to that. I would try to change stuff, because here's the thing: the questions are not going to get easier. The players are not going to get worse. They're going to get more competitive. The questions are going to get harder. So after an year of being the star player of that faction and being that place right now, I'm sorry, you have to change it. Not because Roxy is incompetent. She is not. She brought a lot of good stuff to Alex. But the context of the Star Wars division now is different. And here's the thing. People have a lot of short memory in the Schmoedown. If Alex has another bad year, people are not going to remember him as dominant, because the recent memory takes over the long ones.
I think
people don't talk about the Patriots as much as they do now after Shazam today, or the Shire Wolves.
Yep.
I agree, Danny. I think people have a short memory, and I think people have a short memory of Roxy last season managed Alex Damon great. And I think the difference between us is I think all it takes is one little adjustment. I think with a little adjustment, I think Damon can get back on track, and I think the ability to be the star, like the player associated with a faction, is too good of an opportunity to pass up. I don't think he's getting that anywhere else, especially as a Star Wars player. And I think so. Go ahead, Dagan. But I will say, like, people have a short memory. You're right, but they have a short memory when it comes to Roxy too. And I don't think we're that far off with Damon. I think all it takes is one adjustment, and then
I would agree that a lot of people doesn't give the credit that Roxy deserves.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that should change.
I thought she got snubbed for Manager of the Year last year, and just to kind of add on to this, I feel like the change does need to maybe come in the form of a manager for Alex Damon. And you look at Roxy, you're talking about he needs just one adjustment. Well, I think that adjustment might be a different manager. And you look at Roxy, where her success has been this season, and you talk about who do you think of when you think of the stars? Well, right now, especially after the exhibition match we got today, Janine the Machine is the star of the stars. And
exactly.
I am looking at her as somebody to possibly build that faction around next season, because I think not only does she have huge star potential in terms of how well she's played as a competitor, especially this season, I feel like she's had one of her, maybe a career season, and we'll see what she does in the rest of the tournament here. But I feel like she is somebody that also has a presence in terms of like stage presence. And we saw that in the horror exhibition match today as well, where I think she's somebody that people really enjoy watching play. And Video Drew as well. That was just an amazing matchup that we got between those two. So I feel like Janine is somebody that I think that they could focus on really rebuilding the stars in a way next season, especially if it's only like 5 or 6 members per roster. You start with Janine, and then you go maybe somebody like Paige for Betty, the Boston Badass.
I can see that.
Perfectly. If she doesn't go on and win the tournament and win the title, I think that's somebody you could put with Roxy. So, like, those two, like, you look at Janine and Paige and Roxy as, like, the core trio of the stars. I mean, that, to me, has more potential than just Alex Damon again. And I think Alex Damon is somebody that sure is could be considered a star in this league, and was for many, many years. But I think that you got to look at success, recent success, and a lot of that in a lot of sports, and Schmoedown included. What have you done for me recently? Kind of mentality, I think, plays in.
You're not even
And-
recent. We're not talking about one match. We're talking about the whole year.
The entire season, yeah. I'm looking at it
Yes.
overall.
It's over. Alex Damon's season is over. It's crazy to think about that. You all.
I always think of him
were
as spectacular. Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to see Alex Damon. Maybe he goes. I don't know. Maybe Alex goes. Like you're not
Probably
going to
the
see
big
him
crowd.
competing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. And here's the fact. Like Janine, another person that I think not a lot of people give credit for. That's why I think her with Roxy actually works better than her with San last year. That's my opinion. Like,
Agree.
Maybe I'm wrong, but the truth is, like, even though yes, we know the factions dynamic is going to change anyway next year. If you compare 2021 with 2020, you see that the evolution, like the necessary changes that you have to have between seasons, screw up some factions a lot, and some factions knew how to adapt. Like corruption right now seems a natural progression from the corruption of last year because they won.
Oh yeah.
The dungeon was that last next to you. Kaiser learned the lessons. He took notice of the whole thing stock exchange debacle and created, arguably for a lot of people, the best faction of this year. Like some people might think it's corruption, but like in terms like of the best faction, that they are like the two favorites for a lot of people. The exchange had this whole ego problem between Rook and Bateman, Dan, and I don't know who else. What they do, they create a entire fresh faction with a lot of rookies. People don't believe them at first, think they are all crazy. It pays off. The quirk mercs are the only ones that I think are a little bit more the same as they were last year. Maybe a little bit of adjustments. I think they don't rely that so much on Shazam because they had Andrew de Malanta. The Perry showed up, a great performance. Josh Horowitz. Of course, you have like the real rejects, and that can be a discussion for another time. But like, I think the quirk mercs is the only one that really maintains the same thing. But like the usual suspects, it became the Ethan Owen, Liz, like Drew McQueen, like Amaru faction. Like it changed the identity so much.
Yeah.
Nikki, Marie Wilson, but like Stars got screwed up. It started as something this year, and now it's basically
it all collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair,
swag. I think, but like the Stars, I think because I think Roxy got screwed by losing
Roxy got
Dragon.
screwed 100%. But also, like, the
Exactly.
problem is, like, if we're looking back on it, the Stars and Swag just didn't have as good as drafts in free agencies. Well, mostly the draft. I feel like what happened is the Stars and Swag just draft-wise, a lot of their draft picks didn't pan out. If we're talking about the Mercs, yes, they stayed the same, but their first overall pick was Andrew DeMolanta, and they were able to draft Joshua Horowitz as a rookie. If we look at the Stars, like the only rookie who's kind of made an impact for them, I think, is Zach Burkett. Or Nick Harley.
Jacoby was a good.
Well, Jacoby was a good pick accuracy-wise, but wins-wise,
Yeah, Nick Harley. Yeah.
I-
Same way. Wins wise.
wins. That's the problem. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, they got some talent, and like I'm not saying they're bad rookies, but like if we're looking at the draft, the Stars and Swag just their draft picks have not turned out the wins, and when that happens, that's how you end up in the position you are right now.
They are not right now. They were like in the last few months, and
Like,
that.
can we pull up Jeremy Miller's comment that he just commented quickly?
This one.
Yeah. Like the problem is, like some of these
Right.
draft picks were spent on the Barstool guys who did not play at all. The Jericho whole thing is like
Didn't quite work out.
another reason why these factions succeed is because they have the whole faction working together. I don't know if that's true for the Stars or just certain aspects.
Yeah.
So
I
I
like
think
sometimes, but like I try to see that as human. Like if you're in that position for that many long, like you kind of lose the motivation. like the team motivation, like the social, the group motivation. I'm talking like individual goals, like why everybody get around and study if nobody's playing or if just one person is playing.
Yeah.
So maybe that, like, for me, that would be the more natural narrative. That's why you have to change the environment. Alex Damon.
I just don't know if Alex is the change. I think you do have to change the environment. I just don't know if it's Alex, but I totally get it. I think it's a very interesting discussion because there's an argument for both sides. I don't think what either you are saying is wrong or bad at all. I think that's just a different approach, and I think it's a very strong argument given Alex's season. Like, if you look at Alex's season, it's a pretty bad. It's been a weird fall in a way. And, like, I don't know if you want to transition to this, but we should probably talk about the main event. Another weird fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
No,
was
I mean,
supposed to be my segue, but you did, Josh. You did good. So. Talking about a
he said
fall.
this is like Danny riding a Segway down the sidewalk, and here comes Josh, and he just pulls him off and takes it and rides off. This is Jack's the Segway. Go ahead. Sorry. Now I've crashed the Segway into the
It's
exactly.
okay.
Anyway,
Sorry.
we had the pay-per-view, like the battlefield. It wasn't like no, that was versus. Every single time they change, like isn't versus to be
versus
It
Battlefield.
It doesn't matter as much anymore because they're all usually one match. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter because some was 2 and some was 1, but since they're all 1,
it's too many brands. Like we are having the same problem. We have light diffuse, drop the kicks.
That one's easier because one of them's on Wednesday and one of them's on Saturday.
Highlights, good friends, better rivals. Like, why we have 4 brands for the same stuff?
They're different shows. They're 4 different shows, Dan.
I gain more money because I make more intros. That's how it makes. Anyway,
So why you complain? Come on.
I don't know. I'm feeling the Fares spot. Fares always complains. Anyway, we had the pay-per-view. To be honest, I was kind of confused because I literally forgot about that defense. I forgot that Lightning Time was supposed to have a match against Shazam. And here's the thing. We were talking about this before we started the show. Ethan Irwin is a very, very interesting case of a player.
Yeah.
He was in the league, like when he first started into the league. He was like, in terms of archetypes, a kind of Bibiani archetype, like a guy, an older guy that is inside the movie space, not as a critic, but actually as a producer that knows a lot about stuff, natural knowledge. Bibiani is like this. McQueen is like this.
I was gonna say Drew McQueenie. Yeah. Alonzo Duralde.
Even
Mark
like
Riley.
Mark Riley with Cyber, like. You can put Dan Murrow, but like I don't think that Dan is like that much that archetype. Like the archetype of like a guy that knows a little bit too much about movie trivia for his age, even though he's not that much young, but not that old either. Anyway, then Ethan, as a beast, got the belt from John Roca himself. Won against Dan in a tournament. Then he lost the belt right afterwards. Kind of what happened with Adam Collins this year as well. After that, Ethan was a good player, but it wasn't as dominant. Let's use this word, like a strong player nonetheless, but like lost that dominance.
I related to Paul Oyama recently. Very similar to Paul.
Yeah.
This year, he gets the belt. The singles belt again. Fails to defend against Marcel, but gets back. And of course, all the other attempts that he had was very, very tough matches. And then he joins up with Liz because like Ethan had like an interesting run with Janine, like Time Machine and everything. But I think like the chemistry was really with Liz Shamila. I think for the longest time throughout this season, we saw Ethan as a front runner of Player of the Year. by the level of play of his accomplishment as a champion, but like now that he lost the belt, the singles one, now that he lost the chance to get the team's belt, do you think that Ethan lost that position of being the front runner of the player of the year of the season?
Yeah, I think he did. I think that the KO doesn't help either. Dropping the belt to Marisol, all right, fine. I mean, we've seen how amazing Marisol has played this season, so that kind of made sense, right? Maybe didn't play his best match, but still played okay, hung in there, right? I think after that it was like, okay, he might not be the front runner for Player of the Year, but he's still in the conversation. If he does well in this team's match, if he hangs in there in the IG tournament, sure, we could maybe still make an argument for him. Then he gets the match and he gets KO'd. And I think that now has taken him out of that conversation. I think he could maybe you could still make an argument that he could deserve a nomination. But I think right now I'm looking at probably Marisol McKee or Griffin Newman, depending on the outcome of the King Arthur match and the teams or the singles tournament. I'm looking at those two as probably my current front runners for Player of the Year, because I just don't think that Ethan, after the last couple matches that he's had, is in that conversation anymore. But curious to see what you have to say about this, Josh.
It's really interesting. I think the theme of this episode is how short-sighted we are as Schmoedown fans sometimes. And I'll admittedly say the KO is not going to help the argument I'm going to make. But I think he's clearly in the Player of the Year conversation. And I think it would be a travesty if he doesn't get nominated. I understand the recent
We're not talking about nomination, but being the front runner.
I would even still say he's the front runner, because I think we forgot how much of an amazing run he has been on. So I'm going to recap it for a bit. In singles, he won the belt against Dan Murrell. First time Dan Murrell has not defended a belt. He also, on that road, beat Ben Bateman and Paul Oyama. Then let's go to teams. He has beat the Outsiders, Danger Zone, Final Exam, and then did have this tough loss to Shazam. And not only does he have all those impressive wins, which no other player has that record of wins. No other player in the league right now has that record of wins.
And that also happened. He got TK'd by Parker.
He won an IG.
Remember that?
Yes, I'm getting to that point. He won an IG match. He made the semifinals of the Intergeekdom tournament. Think about that. He made the semifinals of the Intergeekdom tournament. It is really. I get it, but I think we get so short-sighted. Yes, Griffin.
It was a film, man. It was a film.
Griffin Newman's great. He's having a great tournament season, but I don't think I think we have to look at Ethan's wins and how impressive they are, and look at everyone else. And yes, everyone else has great wins. I think Marisol's closest to him, or I would even say honestly, I think Demolanta has a real case. But
that's more tricky, I believe, because you're not wrong. You bring up some facts.
I think the biggest argument against Ethan, in my opinion, is the KOs. Getting KO'd against Shazam is a tough one, and that's why I think he won't win it. However, I don't think, especially since we're not done with tournament season, I think someone will overpass Ethan for Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think how impressive his wins are, and they are very, very impressive. And the fact he's done this in 3 divisions in a year where no one expected that. I think Ethan's still the front runner, or one of the front runners of Player of the Year.
You also, I think have to real quickly say, because then you can get out of your point, because it is kind of a quick point that I just have to make here, is that a lot of these awards come down to recency bias, and I think that by the time we get to January, nobody's going to be talking about Ethan Aaron by the time we get to January. So I just feel like, you could definitely make an argument that he should absolutely be nominated, and I agree that it would probably be, I wouldn't say a travesty, but I would not agree with. I would not agree with a decision to not have him be included in the nominations.
Like, here's what I'll quickly say. I'm not making the argument of what will happen. This is what I think should happen.
What you personally would like to see.
Yeah, I think the awards are too recency biased. I think like Ethan, it's too much recency bias. I'm trying to make the
guys,
argument-
hello. This is the all awards. I make movies. I know the how awards are.
Well, that doesn't mean it should be the case.
Sometimes you want to know a little curiosity. A lot of the movies that gain the Oscars, they don't gain because of accomplishment like artistical, technical, or philosophical, or even political. Is who basically gets more money into the fucking like marketing for the Oscars. Normally, it's like that. Of course, there are exceptions. We don't need to talk about. I'm talking about general rules. So all awards are like this. Here's the thing. I think Josh brings up a great point. Like, it's not that Ethan had a bad run this season. I would even say that maybe it's his best run, even compared to his debut. Even though maybe he had more momentum. There is another great conversation about that. ASG is not in the chat, so we don't need to get into that. But here's the fact. I was not talking about being nominated or not. I was talking about being the front runner. I do think that he needs to get a nomination. Like, would be very strange and maybe too much recency bias if he doesn't get a nomination. But talk about being the front runner. Like, I try to think of the player of the year. Like, that's Danny's vision. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe you guys agree or disagree. I normally view the player of the year as the person that defined that particular season in terms of accomplishments, performance, wins, and more naturally belts. It's almost next to impossible to somebody to be player of the year but not holding a belt by the end of it. Like, it's crazy to think about it. Anyway, I think that Ethan was in a very good run to that. Even if he didn't, like, if he was still the champion that he defended to this point, like the singles one, and the teams match happened the way they happened today, I would say that he's still the front runner. Like, it's too much of a season, like dominance in an entire season, like to not win that. However, I do think because of the context and the fact that yes, there is a great possibility that she doesn't get to be holding the belt until the end of the season. Like, she can lose that spectacular. Marisol has me more dominant in singles than Ethan. Yeah. She defended a belt and stuff like that. We can argue like Deception had been like the expectations for Deception was not that great. Like, I would say that Lightning Time has a better performance in the Deception. However, and this goes against like the Dimaland argument, is that in a very few cases, singles has always and will always have more prestige for Schmoedown, players, community, etc. Yes, there were times that teams had a lot of prestige, but when you talk about player of the year, like individually, you normally see individual situations like singles, not as teams. Because it's how can you say like the wins is because of just of that player? Like, how about the other one, or even the losses? Can you blame Liz Shannon Miller for the KO? Can you blame Ethan for the KO? I think Marisol, by having a more successful season, like singles, like run, not that Ethan's not successful, but I think hers is more successful. She's the front runner. I don't think we are, and I do believe we're not going to get into a point that we're going to have like a damn situation that there is a player that is dominant throughout the whole year in one or more divisions. Like, the closest one to have the chance for that is Mike. if Mike gets like into like the finals of this term, there is a possibility that he does that. Maybe we can talk about that, like because he's being dominant in IG, being over in singles. Who knows? Maybe he can do it. But as of right now, like being more pragmatical, it's Marisol. But let's say that even Marisol, like if Marisol lost chance, maybe then the Andrew Di Malanta argument would suffice. Because
too.
the singles would be so like balanced that nobody like really superseded each other. That allows the other divisions to get more influence to that decision. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I totally do. Go
I
ahead, Dave.
do, and I just kind of I agree with that, Danny, and I think that sort of what you're saying is like when you look back at the 2021 season of the Schmoedown, who is the one player that you're going to think of? For me, it regardless of the outcome of Spectacular, it's Marisol McKee. For historical purposes, I mean, alone, she's the first woman, to win the singles title, the first African American to win the singles title. I mean, that's just who I'm going to think of. That moment of her winning at the Scumavillani Cantina, defending in New York, being there live. I don't know if
And all the past called that, like winning against Drew, winning against Janine,
the Janine match, especially.
Evan Smith.
Yeah. So, when I look back at the 2020 season, I think maybe like Dan Murrell or Adam Collins. But looking at it overall, I look very much in terms of these awards. I know there's recency bias and everything, but it's like, who is the player that you think of when you say 2021 Schmoedown season? War, Season of War, Season 8. For me, it's Marisol McKee. So, yeah, I would sort of to piggyback on what Danny was saying. But yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I think that's very interesting because I'll be honest, the way I think about it is mostly accomplishments. I think it's who's accomplished the most, belt wise and wins wise, mostly. Because I think it's just it's so tough to come by wins and to be not only great in one division but pretty good in another division. That's how I take it. And I'll quickly want to hit on the Di Malanta. I want to move on from it, but quickly I do want to say, if there was ever a year for a Star Wars player to win Player of the Year, I almost think it's this year with Di Malanta, but I don't think he will. What I will say,
the middle for Hopper.
Yeah, what I will quickly say is let's switch it. Let's say Irwin's losses to Parker and to Shazam happened at the beginning of the year, and then he ended the season with all his wins, with every single one of his wins. He ended the season like tournament season, where he won the singles tournament by beating Paul Oyama, Ben Bateman, Dan Murrell, and then I won the championship against Dan Murrell. Mm-hmm. We can even say he lost to Marisol at Spectacular. Let's say in the Ultimate Schmoedown Team tournament, the second one, he was able to beat the Outsiders, Danger Zone, Final
Deception.
Yeah. Deception. Oh, he did beat Deception. I completely forgot about that one. Deception, Final Exam. And let's say he even had an IG match against Paul Oyama, and he won that at the end of the year.
So basically, you're creating a whole season just for.
I'm just proposing a hypothetical.
What if? What if?
Yeah.
What if?
Edition.
Schmoedown. What if?
Yeah, Schmoedown. What if? If let's say his accomplishments happen at the end of the year rather than the beginning. Do you both think he would be one of the front runners of Player of the Year?
No, for sure.
But at the same time, to create that.
That's my argument. That's my argument.
Wait a second. Oh, Jesus.
I'm just saying.
Yes, but at the same time, the accomplishments by themselves, they are not out of context. For that situation that you're describing to happen, Marisol would have to have a worse season. Because here's the facts. Yes, even though Ethan has a better run in teams than Marisol not only got the belt, she defended. Ethan did not. She has that advantage over him.
That is
in your hypothetical situation, she even gets the belt from Ethan by the end of the year, but for that to happen, Ethan would have to defend it. By changing the timeline of events, you are giving a defense to Ethan. That's
no,
why
I'm
he's
saying
Steve one.
I'm saying Ethan loses at that point. I still think I'm saying.
And how they can compete for the belt at Spectacular?
Huh?
So how they can like, because you're saying like by the end, like even if Ethan loses the belt at Spectacular, you said that to Marisol. Yeah, that's your like the what if
guess
That's
situation.
the what if.
I came up with that on the spot. I didn't want to take away anyone's accomplishment.
No, for that to happen, Ethan would have to have a defense that he doesn't have. That's the difference.
I get that. What I'm saying is my argument is basically if it's just the order of when these events happened, I don't think that's a convincing argument against Ethan. If we're talking about the KOs or Marisol has a defense on him, that's perfectly fine. And I get that argument. But I think
no, but I think the Schmoedown is not that doesn't have that much recency. Like Sam Levine won like awards and he like retired in the middle of the season.
I hated that award. Yeah, I hated that he.
But like the recency bias that we're talking about a lot, like it's not that much true, guys. I think what's very interesting is that yes, we are talking a lot about Griffin Nooms, and he has a lot of potential, but let's face it, the only rookie until now that got the belt is Thomas Harper.
Yeah.
Until Griffin Nooms can get a belt, he cannot be no one can be the Rookie of the Year. I'm sorry. But
You make a good point. Yeah.
But here shows the truth. The singles has more prestige than all the other ones.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. I think a little bit on the tailgate is that like, okay, coming out of Spectacular, if Griffin Newman has the title, I think that he's going to get that Rookie of the Year. Even if Thomas Harper also walks out with the Star Wars title, right?
Oh, I disagree with that. But
if Harper, I would say it's singles takes prestige over Star Wars in that instance. I think.
We can discuss if it's fair or not, but normally that's how it goes.
I'm just saying this is what it usually is, right? But okay, let's say Thomas Harper retains at Spectacular, Griffin Newman loses against Marisol or loses the teams match, then I think you got to say it's Thomas Harper. So it's really I think about belts, and like if another rookie comes out of Spectacular with the title, then you could, which in this instance would have to be somebody from singles or teams, because we IG is Parker and Kalinowski, they're not rookies, so no argument there.
You know what? For me, it's the most interesting one. Like, let's say that none of the rookies gets into singles or even teams. Like, let's say that Danger Zone wins the tournament. Let's say that I don't know Bibiani or even Muro wins the tournament for singles. But Gold Leader defeats Thomas Harper. Or even Nikki, because she's a rookie, technically, too. Who gets the player of the year? Because that is the recency bias situation. Is it Thomas?
Yeah.
Gold Leader, or Nikki, like / Nikki?
I think it's whoever walks out with the title. I think it's whoever has the belt, because then you're kind of like almost defaulting to records where it's like all of them would only have like one loss on their record, right? Whoever loses the match. So then it's like whoever wins is gonna have the better record. So it's an interesting question, but I think it is whoever.
That would be Thomas' first loss. He's a tournament winner.
Yeah, and I think it's a recency bias thing. So it's like whoever wins the title, I think would walk out as Rookie of the Year.
I think it's close. Like I think the losses cancel out. I think also the wins cancel out if it's like Gold Leader or Nikki and Harper. I think it might come down to, and I think why Gold Leader might have an edge, is the Exchange might be fighting for the faction title at that point. And if Gold Leader wins and possibly wins it's
almost like an MVP. It's almost like an MVP situation there.
Pretty much, yeah. That's
Because he would be a finalist, a winner, like a tournament finalist, a tournament winner, and a belt holder.
Yeah, and also maybe a faction winner, depending for.
That would be. Imagine if Gold Leader is the reason why the Exchange wins the fucking.
He would
be nuts.
He's like one of the highest point scorers, I think, for them.
Wow.
Okay,
Pretty crazy to think
just
about.
before
Yeah.
we end this, because it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
What if
hmm
God Leader doesn't get, like, he can even get to the match in Spectacular, doesn't win the belt, but Griffin, like King Arthur, goes to Spectacular and takes from Shazam, but Griffin Nooms falters at some point in the singles tournament. Who gets, Thomas Harper or Griffin Nooms?
If Thomas
Prestige has
Harper,
more prestige than.
yeah, it's a similar to the other scenario where it's like if it's Thomas Harper with the title and Griffin Newman with the team's title,
Yes.
I think again you're going to default to the singles player and give it to Griffin Nooms.
But
I
Thomas
know
Harper
you
would
don't
have a defense.
look. I know you don't like it, Josh, but I'm just saying, and I personally, I would actually make the argument the other way that it should be Harper because Star Wars is almost more challenging. It's more competitive.
And
the
it would be a
questions are
defense because
deeper.
Thomas Harper
but-
would have a defense.
Yeah, but well, what usually happens in these awards is that defaults to the singles player, and that's just like the basic rule that people go by, and then they're going to vote for Griffin Newman. And the other thing I'll throw in here is character work. All right, Thomas Harper I think is great, but the major and everything. But Griffin Newman might have that on-stage presence / character work down a little bit more in the voters' eyes. So I get why you
Thomas
would.
has a great stage presence on interviews. You
He
guys did
does.
an interview with
He
him.
does.
He's a good
Very
character.
tense, man.
They both have great characters, but I do think that Griffin Newman might be a little bit more showman-y, I guess. Is that
Not
the
big
word?
enough
But
of a gap, in my opinion. But do you mind if I quickly comment on the Star Wars
Yeah.
for winning?
Mhm.
go ahead.
I understand why you think precedence matters here. That's that almost always the singles and teams player gets it. Almost always. However, I would like to argue we're in unprecedented waters here. Like before this year, Star Wars only played 2 or 3 times a year. Before this year, Star Wars wasn't that focused on, and it was the Alex Damon division.
You could argue that last year.
Like
there was
I
a
would like to,
tournament.
I would like to think that the fans of the Schmoedown are smart enough to not just give it to the singles player automatically. To kind of look and be like, let's see, Thomas Harper won and defended. He beat Andrew DiMolanta, one of the greatest Star Wars players of all time, and I think in his path, by the way, was not easy. I like the fact that he had to beat Ace and I'll go perfect against Gold Leader in the tournament final. Perfect. I do think we're unprecedented waters. The Schmoedown's a very young sport. And just because something hasn't happened yet, there's a reason for it. Because in the previous years, we haven't had a lot of Star Wars matches. It's not a division that usually is more focused on. In singles and teams, you have so many opportunities. But this year, we've had a lot of Star Wars opportunities. Gold Leader, what's he on? Like his almost 5th or 6th win? He's almost had 7 or 8 matches or something. Like, I think he's had like 3 in the original one before the tournament. He's like on match 8 or 9 or something.
I think that's going to be his 8th match. Yes.
So yeah, that's as much as some of that.
So
That's
he's
not
like 7-1.
I know that's more than like 2
Something like
years. That's more than like 3 years of Schmoedown Star Wars matches. So I think we're on unprecedented waters. I think Thomas Harper is that like possibly that kind of rookie that changes it for the sport. Like if anyone's going to
I
do
would agree with that.
if
I
anyone's
think-
going to do it, it's him.
I think it comes down to if Thomas Harper defends, I do give a lot of power to defenses because winning, like Demmer is a 5 times champion. Guess what? He had to lose 5. He had to lose like 5 times to be like, oh, he's searching for his 6th title now, but he lost 5 times. Like defense is as much harder, or sometimes even harder, because you don't play that much, as getting a belt. So I think if Thomas Harper defends, that's Danny's opinion, and I'm not saying that's going to be like that. I think that's a lock. He's already a lock as of now, but if he defends at Spectacular, it's a lock because it doesn't matter
Should
if
be.
Griffin Nooms Paige, whoever wins a belt at a spectacular, none of them has a defense. Thomas has a defense. If
I-
doesn't defend the belt,
Mhm.
I think that then we're going to have the problem. Because now it's either from one of the rookies, either Gold Leader or Nikki, that gets his belt. And then you have to pray that nobody at teams and singles wins a belt. In this case, Griffin Hume. You have to pray that Griffin Hume doesn't get a belt on teams or singles. You have to pray for Paige Fredred that doesn't get a belt in singles.
I think that's fair, and I do agree with you there because, like, I think Harper is one of the most transformative rookies we've had, and like, if anyone can kind of break the mold and kind of break the cycle, it's him. But the problem is, singles just have so many more opportunities, and the fact that he wasn't able to compete in the most recent tournament because he beat Andrew De Milanta, which is a good problem to have. But like singles, we've had, I think this was a 64 or 32. Sorry. It was a big
32 versus tournament. Yeah.
32, yeah. So a 32 singles tournament. That's a huge tournament, and to be able to get to the finals of that and not only get in the finals but then win a spectacular, yeah, you kind of have to give it to them if it's equal. However, I think the defense is something that's big enough because it's so uncommon, and I think all three of us would say our own personal opinion. If Harper defends, we would probably give him Rookie of the Year, and I think not only will us all three say that, I think a lot of Schmoedown fans will look at it like that.
I hope so. You know,
I would hope so too.
I
Yeah.
hope so. I really hope so. But I think if anyone's going to do it, it's Harper, and I'm really excited for it. But I don't like the idea. I will never like the idea of just giving it to someone because of the division they play in. I don't agree with it. I will never say, oh, that's the way it's done. So that's the way I will always say it should be done this way, and I guess I'll always be wrong and disappointed. But I don't like giving it to someone.
Maybe you are the reason. Like, I believe that all of us has a responsibility by doing the shows as being like a representation of some voices, of shaping some voice. So please, people that are hearing this live on the audio feed, on the VOD, like, listen to Josh, like, and when you get to have to do your vote, because we can vote, like, Schmoedown has a little bit of democracy in its voting system for the award. Like, think about that. Like,
Yeah, just keep the discussion in mind, you know. I mean,
yeah, and we are going to discuss a lot because, like, it's not
We
as
have
of,
more time.
as of
yeah.
right now.
I was gonna
Thomas
say
Hopper is a lock-in, but that can change.
this is going to be an ongoing debate that we're going to be having for the next month here leading up to Spectacular. I think this discussion is just going to keep going and going and going, and I can't wait to debate and talk with everybody about it, because this is like playoff season, you know, for
100%.
sports fans, for Schmoedown fans,
And the possibilities are
Last
getting
month leading up
tighter
to
now.
Spectacular, yeah.
Are getting even tighter. Like, after we know what happens with King Arthur, after we know what happens with Griff Newms and Paige, like, things are getting tighter. So
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys, people in the chat, people watching, are going to tune in every single time. So before we go, please, Josh, where people can find you.
You can find me at the website. I'm writing Schmoedown articles. I just got the first one, I think, done. Maybe it'll be up soon at some point. I'm working on the next one right now. It's got great. We have so much great content on the site. I highly recommend it. The match reports that Adelia does are so incredible.
Yeah.
It's such a valuable resource. And hey, you may find me having my own show soon. We'll see how that goes. But you know, I'm excited for
Good
it.
tease.
Good tease.
Yeah. When it happens, we're going to definitely do that announcement. And Mr. Dagan, I hear that you have a lot of this weekend.
Yeah, we got some shows coming up this weekend. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, over on our Twitch, twitch.tv/LGR Network. We'll be doing the drop kicks with special guest Chris Anthony Lopez, talking about AW and wrestling and all good stuff there. And then Sunday, it's another big show for any given Schmo Day at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern, also on Twitch. We will be doing our Halloween show, and we will be debuting for the first time ever on the Let's Get Ready Network taking your phone calls. So that's going to be super exciting.
Yes.
You can call into the show and talk with myself and Corey Cameron about Schmoedown and whatever else is on your mind. So super excited for that. Stay tuned.
Yeah, imagine those phone calls, man. They are going to have some weird people calling
It's
you.
Halloween, so we might get some prank calls, but I'm prepared for it.
Yeah. We shall see, man. Very excited to see what happens on Sunday. Anyway, I'm Danny, filling in for Mr. Fares Muthana and Justin Hamilton, but let's face it, I'm way more handsome than Dan. Like, people prefers me anyway, so maybe we
Fares
stay
is-
like this. Like, who needs Justin and Fares anyway? You know, like, we can do the show without them. Like,
Ferris was gonna come in here and sulk about Alex Damon for a little bit.
yeah,
but
like,
you know what?
My personal
His
close
best friend. Like, we get it.
I'm
Okay.
Fares. Anyway, guys, join the Patreon. You see, like in the ticker, right here in the bottom. Join our Patreon. We do a lot of good stuff. Yesterday, we just hang out with the Patreons, and we do watch-alongs. We have a lot of fun stuff. You can join our Discord. We have conversations about the Schmoedown, about life, about sports, wrestling, everything. Anyway, have a great night. Have a great weekend, and we see you next time in this bad channel at this bad hour. See you soon.
Cheers, everybody.
Real